So I just got done watching. I didn't see the whole thing, but like halfway through the Drink Champs War Report episode just came out the other day. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing yet. It's mad long. Watched like 2 hours of it already, but I'm not really giving a review about the punch by punch what they was talking about on there. I'm just here to say that I'm glad to see that they finally did this, because I used to always think that in my mind, like when they're going to actually do a CNN or Nori, you know what I'm saying, Drink Champs segment. But the one thing I heard that Tragedy Khadafi said on there, he was like, they was making a project, a body of work. And that's the goddamn truth, because that album was part of my upbringing and my life. You know what I'm saying? That album, I met people locked up in Juvenile through that album. Me and some people I know from Juvenile to this day connected through the CNN album. You know, in Juvenile, in jail, anywhere locked up, sometime all you got to do is sit around rapping, or if you can't rap, you might rap verses off, you know what I'm saying, regular people that are already regular, you know what I'm saying, rappers or whatever. So that's what we used to do, you know what I'm saying. The War Report was the ultimate link for people that was locked up around that time, and that album is one of my favorite albums of all time ever, you know what I'm saying. When we talking albums, it's definitely in my top 5 favorite albums of all times, without a doubt. When I was younger, I was, you know what I'm saying, Nori was one of my favorite rappers, still is to this day, even though he ain't really rapped in a long time. But man, this album was such an important album for some people, man. Like, you don't even understand. That album got you through bids, you know what I'm saying. Like I said, I met people in Juvenile off it. I bid it with that album from Juvenile to going to jail as an adult from that album. As crazy as that may sound, you know what I'm saying, I knew the whole album back to back, verse for verse, word for word. You can sit in the cell and rehearse the whole album in your head a couple times to get you through days, you know what I'm saying, get you through the night. There was something about that album that was definitely a body of work. Like, the whole thing together as it was like, it called a time period, you know what I'm saying. To this day, if I heard any song from that album, it take me right back to them days. A couple days ago, I heard this young teenage type looking dude driving by playing driver's seat. And I looked over like, okay, you know what I'm saying, like, no matter where you at, that's just one of them albums that just does that. It's a timeless, monumental, time capturing piece. One time I seen Nori again in Manhattan. He was talking about he used to love to go to Manhattan. It's the only time I ever seen Nori. I seen him in Manhattan. He was in a gray Nissan Armada. That's what it was. Getting out of the back seat of an Armada. I was down in Manhattan, running around on some just wandering type stuff, and seen him. And then I seen somebody walk up to him. At first I was like, I couldn't tell if it was him. And I saw a dude go up to him. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, N-O-R-E. Looked over at me real quick. But man, that album, man, was like, if you wasn't around to experience that album, it's hard to even put it into words, you know what I'm saying, like, to even describe how, because it wasn't just the fact of just the album, it was just the way that music was consumed back then. You know what I mean? This ain't nowadays with the internet, you just skip through. Back then, I think I had that album on a cassette tape, you know what I'm saying, when it first came out, if I'm not mistaken. You ain't have the luxury of just going through, listening to exactly what you want to hear when you want to hear it. I'm just talking about just the time period. You had a chance to actually sit with an album, listen to it, appreciate it, listen to it over and over, find new little things you didn't hear. Like, the first 100 times you heard it, you might listen to it 200 times and still might hear something like, oh, so I didn't even notice that. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of them albums. That album is a monumental album. I'm not sure. I don't think I might have did monumental numbers, like sales or whatever. I guess to this day it probably did, but back then it was still like underground. We was hearing Nori before that album came out. I think the first song I heard Nori on was Ice Down Medallions. And I think that was either the Royal Flush album or that was on a Royal Flush song. I don't know, but it was called Ice Down Medallion. I think that was the first time I heard Nori. I was like, who's this dude? And then, like, little mixtapes here and there, you start hearing a little bit more. And like I said, those times you had to wait for stuff. And when you got stuff, you would appreciate it when you got it. Like, oh shit, this is that new hot shit. You know what I'm saying? Get a Clue tape or whoever was popping back then, all the DJs. Tony Touch, all them type people, Kid Capri, and you just vibe with it, you know what I'm saying? And then, like I said, since you got to sit with music back then, that music takes you through, is actually like a soundtrack of your life. That music is getting you through days, you know what I'm saying, challenges, battles, all type of stuff, all type of experiences. Then all you got sometimes is that music that you was hearing back then. So yeah, man, shout out to the War Report, man. That's an all-time classic album. And a lot of people did compare it to Mobb Deep, but I never really saw the comparison besides, other than the fact that it was Queen's Bridge. I mean, Nori's from Left Rack, but other than the fact that it was Queen's music, the War Report didn't sound like nothing else to me, you know what I'm saying? Because it just, Nori didn't sound like nobody else, Capone's voice didn't sound like nobody else, and them two together, their voices were so different that, like I think Capone said on there, they complement each other. It was like a yin-yang type of thing. It was like a, you know what I'm saying, it brought a whole different type of vibe to the, because there's certain artists when they come out, some artists you learn to like as they come out, some people you don't like at first, and you kind of hear something you like, then they grow on you, then you start liking them more. But Nori's voice, when the first time you heard Nori's voice, I'll say for me anyway, he was one of them artists that made you want to hear more from the first time you heard his voice, because it was just so different and so out of the box and so not like nobody else. You just like, damn, I can't wait to hear something else this dude got to say. And like I said, you might have to sit there and wait for a couple weeks or even months sometime before you get a hold of some new music by some artists and stuff like that. So yeah, shout out to the War Report, man. That's definitely, and to see all the elements behind it, all the people that contributed to putting it together and stuff like that. Some stuff is just divine, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really put it into words. Like, unless you're from that time period, you won't even be able to understand that kind of concept. This music now comes out so quick, it gets old so quick. A hot song now might be only hot for 2 weeks. Back then, I mean, you had an album, you rocking that album for years sometime until something else came along to battle it, you know what I'm saying, to be able to combat that for you. But yeah, man, shout out to the War Report. Definitely classic, timeless, ultimate album.